Well, thank you guys. This is my last Sunday morning here. We have a beautiful, beautiful gathering next week that I'm really looking forward to. I'm going to encourage you to not miss next week. In fact, invite some people. This is going to be a powerful night of worship together here. Tim and the team have like a lot of really amazing things planned. So it's going to be a great opportunity next week to gather together. My sabbatical starts the 24th of June. Some people think that I'm like going away, like to some other place for 10 weeks. I'm not. I will spend the next 2 months here, and I just won't be here on Sundays. I actually am going to get to go visit other churches and be refreshed that way, and I'm going to have a lot of opportunities to be poured into from different places, so I'm excited. Again, my prayer and my hope is that the next 10 weeks would be some of the most powerful weeks at Humanity Church. That you wouldn't be like, oh, Nathan's not here. I don't want to be here for the B team or whatever. That you would just like show up. I'd love to come back and be like, what happened? We ran out of chairs. Like this is amazing. So let's make this summer like one of our most explosive summers ever. I'm so excited to see what happens as a result of that together. All right. Dads in the room. Raise your hand if you're a dad in the room. All right, let's celebrate our dads in the room. We love you guys. We love you guys. It is your day. We honor our fathers in a culture where it is rare to have fathers who are strong and empowering and healthy. We honor you today. And I want to pray a blessing over you. And at the end of the gathering, we have like a giant Tony's chocolate bar for you. So it's awesome. I know some of you are like, where's my crumble cookie? We switched it up, all right? And I know some of you ladies are like, wait, didn't I get a chocolate bar? It's okay. We're gonna keep you on your toes, all right? So would you just join me? Let's just in a prayer for our dads today. Father, thank you so much for our fathers in this room. I pray that every father in this room, that you would bless them, you would strengthen them, that they would know their identity today in you, and that they would walk confidently in that. Father, I ask that you would just fill them today with joy and love. I pray for those in the room who have complicated relationships with their fathers, God, that today you would cover them and comfort them. God, I pray for fathers who have difficult relationships with their children today, that you would also bring them peace and comfort, knowing that you are our Father who covers and you fill in the blanks and you fill in the places that are missing, God. And I pray that even for those in the room who today is a complicated day, that you, God, Father, would show up in a way that would make up the difference today. We are so grateful for the gift of fathers and you, God, as our Father. And we ask that you would today would be a special day. We thank you in Jesus' name. Amen and amen. Well, one of the things that I hear so often when I'm coaching people or working with people, when I ask them, what is it that you really want to have right now in life? What is it that you're after? What is it that you're pursuing? Maybe even what's missing for you in your life. One of the things that I hear over and over and over again is, I'd like to be more present. I'd like to be more present. And it's always interesting to me because when people say that to me, I think, well, here you are. Our work here is done, right? I don't know how you could be anything but present, right? Everywhere you go, you are present. And so oftentimes I think, well, I guess we don't have a lot to do here, but I get what people are saying, because when people usually say, I'd like to be more present, what they're usually saying is, I'd like to be less distracted. I'd like to be more focused and present with the people who are in front of me and less connected to everything else around us. Because the reality is that we as human beings are expert teleporters. Have you noticed that? That we can be physically present here, and we can be emotionally and mentally somewhere else. Have you noticed that? See, some of you are here present with us right now, but you are also present at work and all the things and all the projects that you have going on. You're also present with all the things that was happening before. You're present with the things coming. And so we are present here, and then we find ourselves everywhere else but here. And so we are expert teleporters, but we're also expert time travelers. Have you noticed that? Not only do we find ourselves present, but in different locations. We find ourselves present, but in different tenses of life. For some of us, we find ourselves physically here, but we are emotionally stuck with the fight that just took place before we got here. Or we're stuck in all the drama at work that's taking place. Or we're stuck in the drama in our marriage that took place. We're stuck in a rejection that took place in the past. We're stuck in a betrayal that took place in the past. We're stuck in a letdown. Or we're stuck somewhere in the future worrying about all the things that could happen or might happen. We're even not presently here, but we're thinking about all the festivities to come today and how we're going to get the dinner reservation and did I get the gift wrapped and is dad going to like what he got me, whatever, right? So we find ourselves present here in this space, but we find ourselves zooming very quickly into the past and the present. See, I meet so many people who are present with me, and they're actually present with their 6-year-old self with whatever happened in their past. In fact, I can't tell you how many times I am talking to someone, and in the middle of talking to me, I'll say, "Are you talking to me or are you talking to your dad right now?" And usually it's because they're not actually talking to me. They've time traveled somewhere else. And I'm just a representation physically of wherever they are or whenever they are in life. Because we are expert teleporters and we are expert time travelers and we find ourselves zooming back and forth into different locations and to different spaces and to different tenses in life. And here's the thing, this might not always be at the forefront of your mind. Like you might be here and thinking, Nathan, I'm here present. And you might not find yourself thinking, man, I'm anywhere else but here. But the fact of the matter is that oftentimes this just lives in the background. It's like the operating system that's constantly going, where we're here, and 80% of you is listening to what I'm saying, but 20% of you is also worried about what's coming. Or you're reliving all the things that have taken place in your past that were painful or overwhelming or hurtful, and those take up space, whether we're aware of them or not. And this language that we use when we find ourselves zooming back and forth, even in the background, we find ourselves saying, I'm not present, because we're everywhere but here. And then we're asked to be present with God, right? I mean, I have a difficult time being present with my kid who's in the room with me, right? I have a hard time being present with my kid who is literally saying, Dad, will you play with me? And then we're asked to be present with this God who is invisible, who we can't really see, we can experience and feel at times. How on earth do we do that in life when we struggle just to be present with what we can see and touch and feel here and now? That there's this profound moment right after the Easter story. This moment right where Jesus has been crucified and he was put in this tomb, and then 3 days later he came from the grave. We'll talk about that in April of next year. But right after that, there's this profound moment that takes place that we usually don't get to because we don't have time on Easter. But it says this in Luke 24, starting in verse 13. Now that same day, 2 of them were going to a village called Emmaus. These were followers of Jesus, about 7 miles from Jerusalem. They were talking to each other about everything that had happened, and they talked and discussed these things with each other. Jesus himself came up and walked along with them, but they were kept from recognizing him. See, I find this moment so fascinating because here are these 2 followers of Jesus who are walking down this road towards Emmaus, the city, and they're talking about everything that had taken place over the last week. Now, it was a bit of a bummer of a week, and there was a lot that had taken place that week, so I imagine there was a lot to talk about in this moment, but they were talking about all of the events that had happened, and I imagine that as they were talking about all of these events, they were thinking, man, we have followed this Messiah, we have followed this rabbi who had been teaching us and had bringing us back to life and had been illuminating our lives, and all these miraculous things had taken place, and life was turning out, and this was so profound and beautiful, and I couldn't imagine anything else. And then the guy goes and gets executed, and he's put into a grave, and now we find ourselves hopeless. Now we find ourselves facing death and destruction, and everything that we had worked for, everything that we had invested in, everything that we had given our lives to is now in a grave, and life did not turn out the way that it was supposed to. And I imagine that they were shocked and they were confused and they were trying to figure out, well, where do we go next? We've just wasted months of our lives, and here we find ourselves here. And here's the crazy thing is Jesus just comes up and starts walking alongside of them. And it says that they were kept from recognizing him. Now, I don't know what that means. I don't know what happened. I don't know if Jesus had a different look. He was didn't like that old body, got a new one over here, right? Like the ultimate facelift or something. I don't know what took place. but they could not recognize him as he was walking alongside of them while they were talking about him. See, I wonder if Jesus actually looked exactly the same. I wonder if there was no changes, no transformation, but I wonder if the thing that kept them from seeing Jesus right in front of them was the story that they were living in about Jesus and about their lives. That it was actually the story that they had found themselves in that kept them from recognizing that he was right there with them. See, I wonder for how many of us we find ourselves stuck in a story about what has taken place in our lives. We find ourselves discussing in our heads and in our hearts and in our minds over and over again all the things that have happened and all the letdowns and all the places where life didn't turn out the way that it was supposed to and all the ways that life didn't show up the way that I needed to show up and all the ways that God didn't show up, all the disappointments, all the hurts, all of the confusion, all of the pains, and what we did and didn't have from our fathers even. And we find ourselves stuck in the story about what has been, all the ways that life didn't turn out and the way that we wanted it to turn out. And I wonder for how many of us Jesus is actually coming up, walking alongside of us, present here with us, but we don't even recognize him because we are not present with him. We are present with a story about who we are and about who he is. That we have teleported somewhere else and that he could be walking and talking with us. And that we don't even recognize him because we are somewhere else or we are somewhen else when he is right here with us. See, it's actually quite simple to solve this present conversation around what it looks like to be present, how to become more present, because the reality is that you are always present. It's impossible not to be present because you show up everywhere you go, right? It's not like you showed up today and you're like, oh my gosh, I forgot my mind, it was at home, right? You didn't show up today, oh my gosh, I left my spirit at work. Let me go get it real fast, hold on. You're here, you're present. All of you is here right now in this space. You are present. The question is, what are you present to? And who are you present with here in this moment? See, these guys were present with everything that had been wrong in their lives. They were present with death and all the ways that life hadn't turned out, all the things that was not there, and it kept them from being present with who and what was right in front of them. It kept them from seeing all of the resource that was standing right there and walking and talking about them. Here, you will know what has captured your heart and your imagination and your attention by what you are present with and who you are present with. If you want to know what's captured your heart, just find where and when you live on a regular basis, what you are present to. See, and I love that Jesus walks up and it says, he asked them, what are you discussing together as you walk along? They stood still, their faces downcast. One of them, named Cleopas, asked, are you the only one visiting Jerusalem who does not know the things that have happened here in these 3 days? What things, he asked. By the way, I love that Jesus did not just walk up beside them and just go, surprise, I'm back, right? He didn't do that. That's strange, right? Here they are, talking about Jesus, talking about his death, talking about the letdown, all the things that happened. It would have been easy for him. In fact, it would make sense for him just to walk up and be like, hey guys, I'm here, we're good, right? But he doesn't do that. Jesus doesn't actually reveal himself to them in that moment. See, it's one thing for us to be able to recognize him when he's right in front of us, but he is not interested in just him seeing us. He is interested in us being able to see him in the moment. He is interested in us being able and willing to recognize him when he's right in front of us. And so Jesus continues, or they continue, about Jesus of Nazareth, they replied. He was a prophet, powerful in word and deed before God and all the people. The chief priests and our rulers handed him over to be sentenced to death, and they crucified him. But we had hoped that he was the one who was going to redeem Israel. And what more, it is the third day, and since this took place, in addition, some of our women amazed us. They went to the tomb early this morning, but they didn't find a body. They came and told us that they had seen a vision of angels who had said he was alive. Then some of our companions went to the tomb and found it was just as the women had said, but they did not see Jesus. He said to them, "How foolish you are, and how slow to believe not to believe all that the prophets have spoken. Did not the Messiah have to suffer these things and then enter his glory?" After being with Moses and all the prophets, he explained to them what was said in the scriptures concerning himself. And as they approached the village to which they were going, Jesus continued on as if he were going further. But they urged him strongly, "Stay with us, for it is nearly evening. The day is almost over." So he went in to stay with them. See, I imagine that these guys over these 3 days had just played over and over and over the nightmare that they were living in. That they had just been stuck in this story about the death and the destruction and the hopelessness of their lives. And now what on earth were they going to do? That everything that they had put their hope in was a lie. And they were stuck in what had been. See, I find that we're oftentimes captured by the past because it is the most predictable place that we can go. Have you ever noticed that when you're stuck in the past, everything is where it should be? Have you noticed that? Isn't it great? I mean, isn't it great that over here in the past, everything happens the same every single time? Have you noticed that? Nothing changes. You can just replay that event over and over and over again. It's the same. You can betray that betrayal. You can replay that letdown. You can betray that breakup. You can replay all of those things, all of the ways that people didn't choose you, and all the ways that your childhood was a mess, and all the ways that you financially aren't where you need to be. All of the things. And guess what? Everyone says the exact same thing. Isn't it awesome? There's no surprises over here. There's not like, whoa, this time my parents loved me. There's not like, whoa, this time that relationship worked out. Whoa, this time I wasn't hurt when I gave my heart. Wow, no, in the past, everything is exactly the way that it should be, and it's wonderful, and we love it. Because here's the thing is we are addicted to certainty, aren't we? We love going back there. We love being there because every single time it just reminds us that I don't have to worry about what has been or what is to come because everyone has their place, everything is as it should be, and nothing ever changes over there. And we get addicted to the certainty that the past provides us. But here's the other thing that living in this story back here, being present with what was does, is that it validates the story that we live in about ourselves and about other people. Have you noticed that? We go back and we teleport to the past. We are present with what has been to inform us of who we are and who we aren't and who others are and who others aren't and who God is and who God isn't. And it allows us to stay in the story because in the past, I know who I am and I know who I'm not. See, and even today, you may be present here, but teleporting towards the past because you can just fill in this statement, I am fill in the blank. And we can all fill it in with whatever adjective we have. I'm the one who's always taken advantage of. I'm the one who never gets it right. I'm the one who always has to take care of other people. I'm the one who carries the burden. I'm the damaged one. I'm the one who gets to be strong. Whatever it is, we fill in the story. But here's what we do, is we teleport to the past to find all kinds of evidence to prove this story over here that we're in. And we go, let me tell you about all the times that this has happened. Let me tell you about all the moments that prove this story right that I get to live in. And it validates us in the story that we live in. And we keep going back there. We keep teleporting, zooming back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, because it allows us to be right about who we are and about who others are and about who God is. And we never have to risk because we know exactly what is going to happen. We may not be present, but we are present with a version of ourselves that at least is comfortable even in that. Now, here's the thing. Some of you may not even be reliving your pain in the past. Some of you may actually be stuck in reliving the good old days. I mean, look, how many of you in this room have already decided that your best years are behind you? And I'm not even talking to the 60-plus crowd. I know plenty of people who are 22 and have decided that they have peaked in life. Look, how many of you go back to the past and you just relive that beautiful moment that you have and you think it's never going to get any better than that? Life is never gonna, I'm never gonna have the excitement that I have. I'm never gonna have the life that I have. And we are constantly proving that our best days are behind you so that I never actually have to show up here and now to do something profound because I peaked. And so we find ourselves go rummaging through the past to relive these good old days. And These men too, I imagine, they reminiscing about all the miracles. Remember that one time that Jesus put mud on that guy's eyes and he saw, wasn't that amazing? Yeah, never gonna see that again. Remember that one time where he was like, out, and this guy who was oppressed just suddenly was set free? Yeah, probably never gonna have that happen again. Man, weren't those the good old days with Jesus? And I imagine they found themselves not only reminiscing about all the things that had let them down, all the hurt and the betrayal, but they were also reminiscing about all the good things that they would never experience again because they had peaked. See, the past equally blinds you to the beauty and the provision that is right in front of you. That Jesus himself could be walking and talking and speaking to you, and you are not present with him because you are present somewhere in the past. So here are these men telling Jesus all that had happened. They're telling him about the story, their tragic, pitiful story about what had happened as he was walking along the road with him, and then Jesus speaks to them. By the way, I love that whenever Jesus is depicted in the movie, he's always this like calm, cool, never confrontational dude, usually with a British accent, you know? Yes. Who's like, brothers, let us commune together. You know, no. This is what Jesus says to him. He says, are you dumb or just slow? That's literally what he says. I mean, he says to them, how foolish are you, or how slow are you to believe, right? This is what Jesus says to him. He says, are you dumb, or are you slow? Because he says, you followed the story. Every single prophet, every single teacher, every single book told you that this was going to happen. From the beginning of the story, they told you that the Son of Man, that the Savior was going to come and he had to be crucified and put in the grave. He was like, didn't Jesus tell you this, right? And he's telling them, like, you knew this was going to happen, and the whole time I have been saying this to you, and here you have lost it because they were stuck in the story of what had been, and it was impacting what they could see right in front of them, unwilling to be present with what is, even in the face of massive evidence that there was something more available right here and right now. This is how addicted we are to our past. Is that we can have all the provision right in front of us to have life turn out the way that we long for, to have life more abundant right here and right now, right in front of our face, literally speaking to us. And rather than enter into the abundance that's available to us, we present a pile of evidence from our past as to why that could not be true. And then we wonder why we struggle with being present in the moment. I can tell you miracle story after miracle story of things that God has done in my life. I mean, my house, my wife, my kids, this community, there are dozens and dozens of stories. We were at a tune this last weekend, which was insane, and it was amazing. Like the first thing they asked us, have you ever heard God speak, or have you ever seen God move? And I was like, I could list dozens and dozens of times where that had taken place. And I could tell you at least 30 stories from yesterday where God did insane things. And I can tell you that on Thursday, when some small blip in the radar happens, all of a sudden it's like, oh, he's not gonna come through, right? Oh no. Because I go combing through all the times where he didn't come through, or he didn't show up, or he didn't do the thing that he was supposed to do. And I use that as evidence rather than taking all the evidence that he has shown up to prove that he is with me here and now. So we find ourselves stuck, wondering why we can't be present here and now. And then, for some of us, we're like experts. We like get a little extra credit with the time travel thing because we're not only stuck in the past, but then we zoom into the future. How many of you know exactly what I'm talking about, right? That we find ourselves now taking all this evidence of things that have happened and the story with us, and then we time travel into the future. Here's what I found is that we usually time travel to the past for predictability. We time travel to the future for control. Because life in the past was out of control, it was unpredictable, it wasn't the way that I thought it would be. And so now, the story of our past informs us of what's possible or not possible here and now, and it allows us to be certain of who we are and who we aren't and who others are and who aren't, and it leaves us feeling incredibly vulnerable. It leaves us feeling incredibly out of control. And we wonder, am I just like hurling through this life waiting for the next punch? And so if we find ourselves spending endless amount of energy trying to predict what is to come. And we call this worry. We call this anxiety. And how many of you just replay every possible scenario of what could happen or needs to happen or should happen so that we can just get one step ahead of the game so we don't have this happen again over here? This whole time, the God that they were worried had abandoned them or had lost his power or had left them or was not going to show up. The God that they were so worried had forgotten his promises was walking and talking with them. And they could not even see it because they were so stuck in their worry in the future and their despair in the past that they were not present to the God who was with them. They were anywhere but here. And I love that they are like, all right, well, it's getting late and things are crazy, so let's go home, right? You come with us. There's no place for you to stay. And it says this when he continues, when he was at the table with them, he took bread, Jesus, and gave thanks, broke it, and began to give it to them. Then their eyes were opened and they recognized him, and he disappeared from their sight. That would be a bummer, right? Oh, it's you. Oh, man, we lost our moment, right? They asked each other, were not our hearts burning within us while he talked with us on the road and opened the scriptures to us? They got up and returned at once to Jerusalem. There they found the 11 and those who were with them assembled together, saying, it's true, the Lord has risen and appeared to Simon. And the two told what had happened on their way and how Jesus was recognized by them and when they broke bread. See, the moment that they actually slowed down from all of the zooming back and forth between what has been and what was, and they were present with Jesus. He was like, let's pause for a moment. Let's break some bread and be together here in this moment. That moment, the second they decided to be anywhere but here, their eyes were open and they realized that the God of the universe had been present with them this whole time. That they had just become present to God, but God had been present with them from the very beginning, and that moment shifted everything. And I love that they asked themselves this question, were not our hearts burning within us? Were not our hearts burning within us while we are with him? See, isn't it interesting that their hearts didn't just start burning the moments that they recognized Jesus? See, it'd be one thing if all of a sudden Jesus breaks the bread and they go, oh my gosh, it's you. Now my heart's burning. See, their hearts had been burning the whole time. That from the moment Jesus showed up, there was something that was inside of them going, man, there's something burning inside of me. There's this passion, there's this fire that's being lit inside of me that I cannot explain, but they were completely unaware of this. See, you can have the God of the universe breathing fire into your bones right here and now, but until you are present to his presence, that will mean nothing. None of it will matter. That you can spend an entire day walking with the God of the universe, spitting fire into your soul, breathing passion into your lungs, breathing life into your body, and you cannot be aware of it until you decide that you will be present with him. See, what if right now Jesus was right here in this space, breathing fire into your lungs, speaking life into your bones, longing to bring abundance into every single area in your life, but we were anywhere but here. And we were any when but here. And we miss the moment because we never recognize it. What does it take for us to just be present? Not with the pain of the past and the certainty that comes with it, and not present with the control and the worry of the future, but present with the God of the universe who is here and now. See, here's the thing that's so fascinating. All of us instinctively want to be present. It's interesting how many people that I talk to and they just say, I just want to be present with my kids. I just want to be present with my wife. I just want to be present with my friends. When I'm with people, I just want to be here. I don't want to be anywhere else. I want to have my whole self show up right here. There is something instinctively inside of us that knows that we were designed to be present because we know instinctively that right now is all there is. That this moment, right now, is all that we have available to us. And there is something inside of us that knows we must seize this moment, that we must step into this moment, because God's provision is never in the past. It's complete. I know we go searching, trying to answer the questions, and maybe if I figure out why they did that, or maybe if I figure out why I didn't do that, or maybe if I figure out why I am the way that I am, then I'll find provision. But I guarantee you it's never there. And then we find ourselves looking towards the future saying, maybe if I make the right decision, maybe if I find the right amount of control, maybe if I do the right thing, then I'll set up my life so that I don't have this again and everything will be provided for. And it's never there. The only place that provision for your life, for the life that you were designed to live, is ever available is right here in this moment. Nowhere else. And the moment we recognize that, it calls us present, because the only place that you can meet God is right here. Lamentations 3:22-24 says, because of the Lord's great love, we are not consumed, which I'm grateful for that. For his compassions never fail. They are new every morning. Great is your faithfulness. I say to myself, the Lord is my portion, therefore I will wait for him. Why does the scriptures have to remind us that his mercies are new every morning? Why can't they just say, he's always merciful? Why can't they just say, he's never not merciful, so just get with the program, right? It informs us that his mercies are new every day. Because here's the thing, there is a discipline of calling yourself to be present with his mercy right now. To be present with his grace and his hope and his freedom and his redemption that's available right here and right now in this moment. Not to go looking to the past for it, not zooming into the future trying to control it, but you look to the God who is right now, this morning, today's provision, the newness that is here. And this type of living calls us to be radically present. See, if his mercies started new at 12 a.m. last night, then guess what? I'm looking for them right now. I look around and I'm like, all right, where is the provision right now? Where is the life right now? Where is the mercy right now? What action do I get to take right here in this space with these people who are in front of me that gets to be this day's provision for mercy, not yesterday, not tomorrow? And here's the thing. You know what that takes to live that type of life? It takes a lot of trust. It takes a lot of trust to believe that when the clock resets, the mercies are new. See, because how many of you have noticed that not only are we expert time travelers, but we're a little bit of hoarders, aren't we? You may not hoard things, but some of you hoard love, don't you? Like, hey, God, look at all the things I've done in the last week. Do you love me now? Is that enough love to get me through the next week? What more do I need to do? What could I do this week that would get more mercy so I can store it up? Because I don't know if there's enough. And so we are anywhere but present even with his mercy. And what he is saying is, look, I don't care. That had mercy last week. That had mercy yesterday. There was enough mercy yesterday. Would you trust me that when you wake up in the morning that there's going to be enough today, here and now? That you don't have to go anywhere there. You don't have to figure out anything there. It is right here and right now. And this is why I think we can barely handle being present in the moment, because it requires a level of trust that we are just not comfortable with. A level of trust that he will show up today, right now, right here, with everything that we need to step into the life that he has called us into. And we don't like that, and so we find all kinds of ways to distract ourselves. And look, I love the era that we live in because there are all kinds of creative ways to distract ourselves, aren't there? I'm amazed at how many people struggle with silence. It's awkward, isn't it? It's awkward just to be quiet. Which is why we invented earpods, so that we can have podcasts on constantly, so that we can always be playing music, so that we can always have a YouTube video on in the background, so that we can always have something to distract us from being present right here and right now with the provision that's in front of us. Because God forbid we slow down enough to recognize I need to trust. I need to trust that the provision is right now. Or our schedules are just so slammed that the minute we get a free moment, we're like, fill that with something. Because I can't handle being alone with myself in this moment and the trust required to step into this moment that maybe God won't show up if there's not a podcast on or there's not something on my schedule or I'm not doing something with the kids, that maybe if I slow down, God won't be who he says he is. So I would rather be distracted than disappointed. And I find myself living in the tension of not willing to be present here. See, the moment we stop time traveling and teleporting, we are just left with the question, are you willing to trust me that my mercies are new today? So how do we live with that kind of living? There's this annoying psalm in chapter 40, verse 10, it says this, he says, be still and know that I am God. I will be exalted among the nations. I will be exalted in the earth. The Lord Almighty is with us. The God of Jacob is our fortress. Now, for someone like me, to be honest, this verse sounds like a death sentence. I know for some of you, I have friends who are like, let's do silent retreats, right? Let's go and meditate for an hour. I'm like, shoot me in the face, right? I am a guy who loves to keep my calendar full. I'm always like, what's next? Where are we heading? Where are we going? What airline ticket needs to be purchased? What's happening? What next movement? What needs to be written? What needs to be created? I am not the guy who's like, sit me still and let me just be here in this moment. Now, here's the thing. When people read this verse, I think what they assume is that you have to become like a monk on a hilltop somewhere like, and now I will be still. I have carved out 17 weeks of my life to just be still. To be honest, people have been asking me, how are you excited about your sabbatical? And I'm like, I'm a little bit horrified, to be honest with you. I mean, the thought of not having like endless amount of work to do is slightly horrifying. I mean, the thought of like, oh, I don't have to write a talk every week, or there's not people that I need to be with. I love all the stuff that I get to do. There's no complaining about it. Take that away, I'm like, well, I'm just left with me. That's fun, right? But I think that when we talk about being still and knowing that he's God, what that means is I have to give up my drive. I have to give up my ambition. I have to give up my vision. But that is not actually the case. See, the guy who wrote these words, be still and know that I'm God, was David, who was a king, a giant slayer, a warrior, a poet. I mean, this guy was busy. This guy wasn't sitting around on a mountaintop just, right? He wasn't doing that. This guy had a full schedule. And he's the one saying, be still and know that I am God. Because what if being still was less about the externals and it was about an internal reality that you lived in? It's about being still to your heart and your mind and your spirit, that you are present here, that all the zooming back and forth that we do into the past and the future, that he's just saying, be present here right now, be still, and know that God is right here and right now. Stop dwelling in the past, stop trying to control the future, but allow your heart and your mind to be still and present right now and find the mercy and the provision right now, because that's a discipline. To live in that space. See, being still is not about doing less. Being still is about being present to the God who is present in everything that you're doing. This is why whenever people come to me and they say, you know what, I'm just so overwhelmed, I'm so busy, I'm so chaotic, I just need to cancel everything in my life. And inside of me, I just go, ooh, this is a really bad plan. This is a really bad plan. And it's because we figure that if we fix all the externals, then our internal state will match. But the reality is that you can actually be doing nothing and still be living in a state of chaos. And oftentimes when people come and they say, hey, look, I'm going to stop doing ministry. I'm just going to clear my schedule. I just need a break. I just need to get everything gone. I just go, great. Would you just get back with me in 3 months? And almost inevitably they come back and say, nothing's changed. I had all the time in the world and I was just left with me. And I realized that it wasn't about all the things I was doing. It was about being still, not doing still. See, even our assumption is about a performance for God, not a way of being with him in the moment. That we would exalt him in the nations, or we would exalt him above our worry. that we would exalt him above our need for control, that we would exalt him about our need to prove some story right. And then it says that he will be your fortress. He will secure your life in the middle of that. In that moment, you will not want or need to be anywhere but here, because this moment holds everything. And I love that these are Jesus' last words to us. You've probably heard them a million times if you've been around humanity, but it says this in Matthew 28:19-20. Therefore, go and make disciples of all nations, baptizing them in the name of the Father and the Son and the Holy Spirit, and teaching them to obey everything I have commanded you. And surely I am with you always to the very end of the age. See, I love that Jesus' last words were not this: peace out, I'm going to heaven. It's been a good 33-year ride, been a little crazy, got a little executed, right? He wasn't like, this place is a mess, I need a little vacation, right? Give me like a 6-month hiatus. I need to go on a sabbatical, right? He didn't do any of that. He didn't say, I need, like, I'm out, any of those things. He didn't say, look, I'm going to go sit on my throne and reign from up there. He doesn't say, and lo, I will be in heaven looking down on you. In this moment, he says, I will be with you always. See, here's the crazy thing, is that Jesus is constantly present to you. That he disciplines himself to be present to you. It's the last thing he promises to us. I will be with you always. And then he invites us to be present with him in the same way that he is already present with us. See, ironically, being present to God and him being present with you then makes you more present to other people. See, the moment that you decide, I am going to be present with him in the way that he is present with me, he will actually make you more present to the people around you. See, if you want to be more present with your kids, with your wife, with your friends, at work, at school, with your hobbies, if you want to be more present, just be present with the God of mercy and provision that gives everything daily new to you. Just be present with him, and he will call you present. And suddenly you will be more aware of not just him, but every single other person around you. See, it is the act of being present with him that allows you to transform your world through him. Because now I'm not just present and exhausted. I'm now not just present with all the things I have to do. I'm not just present thinking, all right, I got 5 minutes for you, go. I'm now present with the God of the universe who said, my mercies are new today, and I am with you. So the provision is right now, what's right in front of me. It's not what was or is to come, it's right now. It's right here and now. And so there is no need to be anywhere else. There's no need to be anywhere but here. He is calling the world present to him and with him, and the things of this earth will go strangely dim in the light of his glory and grace. This weekend, 60 of us got to be still and present with the God of the universe, right upstairs. And 60 people did this experiment called Attune, where it was like, what would happen if we just got still and decided that we would know God? And raise your hand if you were healed this weekend in some way. Just raise your hand. Look around the room. Yeah. Raise your hand if you heard God's voice in some way this weekend. Look around the room. There's something profound that happens when we decide to not time travel and to not teleport, but to be present with Jesus. And when I was praying about what is like my last hurrah for 10 weeks, I just heard this word present, present, present. Because here's my prayer for you and for our community, is that we would be people who are present. That we would not be present with all of the chaos of the past. We would not be present with everything that is to come, but that we would be present with the God who is here. Because the only place that you will ever find the provision needed to have your life turn out is right here. Everything is waiting for you right here and right now. So my prayer and my longing and my admonition and my last charge to you is that in the next 10 weeks, that you would call your heart present. That you would call your heart to the here and now. When you find yourself in that old habit of zooming back and forth, that you'd be like, there's no provision there. It's just empty. It feels good because everyone's doing what they're supposed to be doing. Even if it's dysfunctional, at least I know it. And that you wouldn't be zooming into the future about trying to control everything, but you would just call yourself present. And that the next 10 weeks here at Humanity Church, when we gather together in our gatherings, when we gather together in our humanity groups, when we gather together for coffee and connection with one another, when we have lunch dates with one another, when we're in life, not just with us, but when we're out with our friends at work, at school, that we would be radically present in the way that Jesus is already present with you. That you would show up like you would never before. See, I don't need you to show up here so I can get back in 10 weeks and go, look at our attendance numbers. They went like, whoa, that was awesome. Who cares? Who cares if our giving goes up and we are still stuck in the chaos of life? See, what I long for is that we would be present in a way that would transform everything else. So that we would find the provision that is available only here and only now. And in that, you would rest in it. So it would bless me immensely, church, that in the next 10 weeks, as I am focusing on being present with Jesus in a new way, that you would commit to being present in a new way. And I guarantee you, this is a 100% money-back guarantee. You didn't pay for it anyways, so there we go. That the moment that you call yourself present with the God of the universe, the God of the universe will reveal himself to you, and he will reveal every good gift that he has been longing to give to you. But he can only give it to you if you're here. And this is what he longs to do today. So would you just bow your head and close your eyes for a moment? I just want to pray a prayer of blessing over our community. That Jesus, we thank you that you are present with us. That the last promise that you thought was the most important promise that we could ever hear in our lives was, I will be with you always. May that ring in our ears. May the reality that your mercies are new daily, not weekly or monthly, that we have to store up or hoard, but that they're new that this moment is all we have. Would you call us present to you? I pray that in the next 10 weeks as we step into summer, God, that we would be people of presence. And in that you would reveal all the resource, all the mercy, all the grace, all the freedom, all the life that is available to us in you. Call us present, God. And I pray that in that our drive would increase, our ambition would increase, our vision would increase, our generosity would increase, our service would increase, because we are here now where everything lives. And this morning, if you're here and you've not yet connected to Jesus, I can just guarantee you that your life's just going to be more chaotic. You're just going to find yourself going back and forth, searching for anything endlessly to fill that need. And it's going to be really hard to trust in something that is not trustworthy. And so this morning, if you're here and you've not yet connected to Jesus, and today you would like to just step into a relationship with him, it's super easy. All you have to do is basically say, I'm in for this. I'm into being present with the God of the universe who came and died for me and came back to life, and it wants to walk with me like he did with these two dudes, and that he wants to burn within me to bring me back to life. If that's you today, if you want to connect to Jesus for the first time, or maybe the first time in a long time with your eyes closed, would you just raise your hand? Say, I want to connect to Jesus. Awesome. Who else? Who else in the room? If you're online, you can just put Jesus in the comments. I just want you to pray this super simple prayer. I just want you to pray, Jesus, I give you my life. That's it. Just, Jesus, I give you my life. And just release it all over to him. Be present with him. And if you prayed that prayer, I'd like for you to go back to next step. We just want to connect with you, say hi, get you some resources to be moving forward in that. So Jesus, we are so grateful for your presence. Call us present in the way that you are present with us. In Jesus' name, amen and amen.
Amen. Thank you, Nathan.